My wife texted her sister, "I'm keeping the lake house in the divorce. It's practically mine anyway." She didn't know my family's lawyer had already transferred the deed to a family trust, with me as sole beneficiary. Her attorney called mine screaming about hidden assets until he saw the legal timeline. I, 38 male, found out my wife wants a divorce because I accidentally saw a text on her iPad while we were watching TV. The iPad we share for streaming, the one that's logged into her iCloud. Her sister Maxine's message was still on the screen. "What about the lake house?" Brielle's response, "Oh, I'm definitely keeping that. It's practically mine anyway. I've decorated it, planned all the renovations. He barely uses it. My lawyer says since we've had it the whole marriage, it's marital property." I just sat there, remote in hand, watching some cooking show but not really watching anymore. The lake house, my family's lake house, the one my grandfather built in 1962, the one my dad proposed to my mom at, the one where we scattered my sister's ashes after the accident. Practically hers. I set the iPad down carefully, didn't say anything. Brielle was in the kitchen making tea, completely unaware. Here's what she didn't know. 6 months ago, my parents sat me down. Dad had just turned 70. Mom was dealing with early-stage Parkinson's. They wanted to do estate planning, get everything organized while they still could. "The lake house," Dad had said. "We want to protect it, keep it in the family no matter what happens." They'd seen Brielle's behavior, the way she talked about our lake house to her friends, how she'd started making decisions without consulting anyone, changing locks, redecorating without asking, acting like she owned it. My parents' attorney, Roger, who'd handled our family's legal stuff for 30 years, suggested a family trust. Transfer the property out of my parents' names, put it in a trust with me as the sole beneficiary and trustee. Legal, legitimate, properly documented. We did it in March, full appraisal, gift tax returns filed, trust documents recorded, all above board. The lake house wasn't marital property because I'd never owned it personally. My parents had owned it, now the trust owned it. I just managed it. Brielle had no idea. I picked up my phone and texted my lawyer, Helena. We'd been friends since law school. She'd done our wills when we got married 5 years ago. "Need to talk. Wife wants divorce. She thinks she's getting the lake house." Helena called me 2 minutes later. "The trust property?" "Yep." "Oh boy, when are you filing?" "Didn't know I was filing until about 10 minutes ago." "Want me to handle it?" "Please." I filed first, beat Brielle by 3 days. Update 1, 2 weeks later, Brielle lost her mind when she got served. "You filed for divorce?" I was packing a bag, moving into a hotel while this sorted out. Cleaner that way. "Seemed like that's where we were headed based on your texts with Maxine." Her face went pale. Then read. "You read my private messages?" They popped up on the shared iPad, the one you were logged into, while we were watching TV. That's invasion of privacy. Actually, it's called being in the same room as an unlocked device. But hey, let's talk about the lake house. "What about it?" "You told Maxine you're keeping it in the divorce, that it's practically yours." She lifted her chin. "It is. We've been married 5 years. I've put so much work into that place. Your parents barely even use it anymore." "Brielle, you don't own the lake house. You've never owned the lake house. My parents owned it. Now a family trust owns it. You have zero legal claim. That's not, your lawyer can't just already did. 6 months ago, all documented, properly filed. My parents transferred it to protect family assets during their estate planning. You want to call your lawyer and ask about how separate property trusts work?" She grabbed her phone and left the room. I could hear her voice getting louder in the bedroom. 20 minutes later, she came back out. "My attorney says you're lying. Says you probably hid assets, moved things around after deciding to divorce to keep me from getting what I'm entitled to." "Cool. Helena's got all the documentation. Trust was established in March, 6 months before I even knew you wanted a divorce. Your attorney can review the timeline." "This is shady. This is financial abuse. It's estate planning. My parents protecting their property. You were never entitled to their lake house, Brielle. I put work into that place. I chose all the furniture. I planned the deck renovation. With their money, on their property. You want reimbursement for your time? We can discuss reasonable compensation for interior decorating? How's $500 sound?" She threw her phone at me. Missed. Hit the wall. My family is going to hear about this. I'm sure they will. She called her parents that night. I know because her dad called me the next day. What the hell is this about the lake house? Hi, Donald. It's in a family trust. Always was family property. Brielle has no claim. She's put 5 years of her life into that relationship. She deserves an equitable division of actual marital assets. The lake house isn't one. Talk to your daughter's lawyer if you don't believe me. He can review the trust documents. Click. Brielle moved in with Maxine. Her lawyer requested all financial documentation. Helena provided everything, including the complete trust file with dates, appraisals, and recorded deeds. Then things got interesting. Brielle's lawyer sent a demand letter accusing me of hiding assets and fraudulent transfer. Said they'd be filing a motion to set aside the trust as a sham transaction designed to deprive Mrs. Whitmore of her marital rights. Helena's response was beautiful. The trust was established 6 months prior to divorce filing, during routine estate planning by elderly parents facing health issues. All transfers properly documented, appraised, and recorded. Trust funded with separate property that was never marital asset. Client never had ownership interest to convey, no marital funds used. Your client had no reasonable expectation of inheritance or ownership. Accusation of fraud is baseless and potentially sanctionable. Suggest you review trust law before filing frivolous motions. Radio silence for a week. Then Brielle's lawyer called Helena. Wanted to discuss settlement. Translation: he'd reviewed the trust documents, realized his client was wrong, and didn't want to get sanctioned for filing a baseless fraud claim. Update 2. 6 weeks later. The entitlement escalated in creative ways. First, Brielle tried an end run. Showed up at the lake house with a moving truck. My parents were there for the weekend. Dad called me. Your wife is here with movers. Says she's collecting her belongings. What belongings? All the furniture she bought, the kitchen stuff, the deck furniture, everything. I drove up there, 2-hour drive. Got there to find Brielle directing movers to load my parents' furniture onto a truck. Brielle, what are you doing? Taking what's mine. I paid for all of this. With whose money? Mine. I pulled out my phone, opened our bank statements. Really? Because here's a $4,800 charge to Pottery Barn from our joint account. Here's $2,200 to Williams Sonoma. That's our money, marital funds. Exactly. Which means it's marital property, which means it gets divided in the divorce. You can't just take it. Your family doesn't even want this stuff. They hate my taste. My mom walked out onto the deck. Actually, Brielle, we loved what you did with the place, but it's still our house, and you're trespassing. Brielle's face twisted. You old bag, you never liked me. You put him up to this whole thing. My dad stepped forward. You need to leave. Now, before we call the sheriff. Fine, but I'm taking what I paid for. No, I said calmly. You're not. The furniture stays. We'll assess its value and credit you appropriately in the divorce settlement, but you don't get to show up with a truck and steal from my parents. The movers looked uncomfortable. One of them spoke up. Ma'am, if there's a dispute about ownership, we can't take anything. Liability issue. Brielle screamed. Actual screaming. Then she grabbed a lamp, a $400 lamp she'd bought with our joint account, and smashed it on the deck. There. Now nobody gets it. My dad already had his phone out, recording. That's destruction of property, Mom said quietly. On our property, that's a crime, Brielle. Brielle stormed off. The movers apologized and left. I helped my parents clean up the broken lamp. Dad forwarded the video to Helena. Helena forwarded it to Brielle's lawyer with a note. Your client committed vandalism on my client's family property. Video evidence attached. Suggest you counsel her regarding appropriate behavior during divorce proceedings. Brielle's lawyer had to be so tired. But wait, there's more. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Roger, my parents' estate attorney. Someone filed a challenge to the trust. Claims it was established fraudulently to avoid marital property division. Who? Your wife. And her mother. Her mother? Margaret Brennan. She's claiming she was promised access to the lake house as part of your marriage agreement. Says your parents verbally agreed she could use it whenever she wanted. She's claiming promissory estoppel. I actually laughed. That's insane. There was no agreement. My parents never promised anything. I know. But they filed it. Probably cost them $5,000 in legal fees for a claim that'll get dismissed in about 30 seconds. Let me guess. They're trying to pressure my parents into settling. Bingo, I called my parents. Did you hear about the trust challenge? Roger told us, Dad said. We're not worried. There's no basis for it. It's harassment. Yes, but we can handle it. Don't worry about us. Focus on your divorce. The hearing for the trust challenge was scheduled. Helena attended with Roger. Brielle's lawyer didn't even show up. Apparently, he'd told them it was a bad idea and they'd hired a different attorney for this. The judge reviewed the motion, looked at the trust documents, looked at the timeline. Mrs. Whitmore, you're claiming this trust was established to defraud you of marital property? Yes, Your Honor. The trust was established 6 months before divorce filing. Do you have any evidence your husband knew you wanted a divorce at that time? He must have suspected. That's not evidence. Do you have any evidence the trust was established for any reason other than legitimate estate planning? His parents were trying to keep me from getting what's rightfully mine. The lake house was never rightfully yours. It was separate property owned by his parents. They transferred it to a trust. That's legal. Your husband never owned it personally, so it was never marital property. Motion denied. And Mrs. Whitmore? Filing frivolous claims wastes the court's time. Don't do it again. Helena said Brielle cried in the hallway afterward. Her lawyer, the new one, withdrew from her case the next day. Back to the divorce. Brielle's third lawyer, a guy named Paul who apparently specialized in complex property division, requested a meeting. Helena and I sat down with him. Brielle wasn't there. Paul slid a settlement proposal across the table. They wanted the house, our marital home, $425K equity, her car, which was paid off, half my 401K, $78K, alimony of $3,000 a month for 5 years, and $25,000 for her pain and suffering. In exchange, I'd get my car, my personal belongings, and half my 401K. Helena didn't even pick up the paper. Countered. He keeps the house, it's in his name, purchased before marriage with his down payment. She gets her car, 401K splits 50-50 per law. No alimony. They were married 5 years. She works full-time as a dental hygienist, making $62. No pain and suffering. That's not a thing in no-fault divorce. She gets half the joint savings, $18K, and half the furniture she purchased with marital funds. Appraised value $12K, so $6 credit. That's it. Paul frowned. She's not going to accept that. Then we go to trial. Judge will order roughly the same thing, but she'll pay more in legal fees, her choice. She feels she's entitled to more, given her contributions to the marriage. Her contributions? She worked part-time for 3 years, then full-time for 2. She paid roughly 30% of household expenses. My client paid 70%. She's not entitled to more. She's entitled to exactly half of actual marital property, which is what we're offering. Paul left to discuss with his client. Update 3, Final 3. The divorce finalized 4 months after I filed. Took that long because Brielle kept dragging her feet, hoping I'd cave. I didn't. Final settlement. She got her car, half the 401K, $78,000, half the joint savings, $18,000, and $6,000 cash for her furniture contribution. Total, $102,000. I kept the house, my car, my half of the 401K, and my sanity. No alimony, no lake house, no pain and suffering. The judge was clearly irritated by the whole thing. During the final hearing, he asked Brielle directly, Mrs. Whitmore, do you understand that your in-laws' property was never marital property? I just feel like I should get something for all the work I put into their house. That's not how property law works. You're getting a fair division of actual marital assets. Be grateful your husband's being reasonable about the house. He could have argued for a bigger share given his larger down payment in contributions. Do you accept this settlement? She looked at Paul. He nodded. Yes, Your Honor. Good. Divorce granted. Outside the courthouse, Brielle approached me. First time we'd spoken directly in weeks. I hope you're happy. I'm not happy, Brielle. I'm sad our marriage ended, but I'm relieved this is over. You kept everything. I kept what was mine. You got what was legally yours. That's how this works. Your family poisoned you against me. No, you poisoned yourself by assuming you were entitled to things that were never yours. The lake house, for starters. I loved that place. You loved the idea of owning it. There's a difference. She started crying. Can I at least visit? Just sometimes? No, Brielle, it's my family's property. You're not family anymore. She walked away. Maxine was waiting in a car at the curb. I could see her glaring at me. Whatever. Here's what I learned through all this. Entitlement is a hell of a drug. Brielle genuinely believed she deserved my family's lake house because she decorated it. She couldn't comprehend that ownership, decoration, that legal title matters, that you can't just claim things because you want them. Her family enabled her. Donald and Margaret could have told her she was being unreasonable. Instead, they backed her ridiculous trust challenge, wasted $5,000 on a frivolous lawsuit, and encouraged her to fight for things she had no legal right to. And it cost her. Not just money. Though she spent probably $15 in legal fees chasing the lake house, it cost her time, energy, and whatever goodwill might have existed for an amicable divorce. We could have settled in mediation for roughly the same outcome without the drama. Instead, she fought for months over property she was never going to get. The lake house remains in the family trust. My parents still use it. I use it sometimes. My nephew loves it. He learned to fish off that dock last summer. Brielle will never set foot there again. That's not spite. That's just reality. She's not family. She made sure of that. As for me, I'm doing okay. Dating again, slowly. Therapy helped process the betrayal. Not the divorce itself, but the realization that Brielle cared more about getting stuff than about our actual relationship. The house feels emptier now, but it's mine. I'm slowly making it mine again. New furniture, new paint, erasing her aesthetic choices. Found out recently through mutual friends that Brielle's living with Maxine. Their relationship is apparently tense. Turns out Brielle's not great at sharing space or contributing to household expenses. Shocking. She's also apparently dating someone new, a guy who owns a vacation rental business, several properties. Wonder if that's a coincidence. Some people never learn. The trust challenge getting dismissed was the most satisfying part. Watching Brielle realize she'd spent thousands of dollars on a lawyer to file a motion that got rejected in minutes. Watching the judge tell her she was wasting the court's time. That's not revenge. That's just consequences. She bet everything on a legal theory that didn't exist, that somehow she was entitled to my family's property because she'd lived in our marriage. She lost that bet. Lost it publicly. Lost it expensively. And the lake house? Still there. Still standing. Still in the family. Just like my grandfather intended. Just like my parents protected. Just like it always should have been. Brielle's text to Maxine, "It's practically mine anyway," sits in my phone screenshots folder. I look at it sometimes when I need a reminder. A reminder that assuming you're entitled to things doesn't make them yours. That legal ownership matters. That you can't just take what isn't yours, no matter how much you want it. The divorce taught me something valuable. Protect what's important before someone decides they're entitled to it. My parents did that with the trust. I'm doing that now with everything else. No regrets, no guilt, just relief that I saw who Brielle really was before we had kids, before we'd been married longer, before she could take more. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just letting someone face the reality they created. Brielle wanted the lake house. She fought for it. She lost. That's justice. And honestly, that's enough.